In our last video presentation, with much help from context group scholars Bruce Molina and John Pilch, I dealt with the book of Revelation, the very misunderstood final document in the New Testament canon. It's a book of visions by John the Seer, compiled and edited into a single work by an unknown compiler. Within these visions, we learn about the actions of a terrible sea beast in Revelation chapter 13. It isn't really a sea beast. Instead, what John sees is a sky beast over the sea. All of the beasts in the book of Revelation are actually sky beasts. The entire menagerie of beastly deities of John's visions are chimeras, dragons, and other sky creatures ancient Israelites conceived. Chimeras are mythical creatures that are combinations of the body parts of different animals. Actually, they're found all over the skies. I am speaking about constellations. Constellations are seen throughout the book of Revelation. For example, angels. Angels are chimeras and constellations in the book of Revelation. The Sphinx-like or griffin-like angelic beings featured in the book of Revelation are also chimeras, such as the four living creatures of Revelation chapter 4. Understanding that, it isn't difficult to see what John is actually seeing. He is in trance looking at the constellations we call Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, and winged Pegasus, or the great eagle Thunderbird. All of these four constellations are situated on the celestial equator. Fantastical chimeras and beasts with multiple heads and eyes, like those described in John's visions, were held by ancient Israelite lore to populate the earth prior to the flood. The same kinds of creatures likewise populate the sky vaults. Consider the chimera Capricorn, essentially a goat-fish hybrid. Or Centaur and Sagittarius, combinations of men and horses, and in Middle Eastern traditions, also scorpions. Or Pegasus, the cross between a winged bird and a horse. As you read Revelation, try to keep in check our ordinary 21st century Western astronomical way of interpreting the skies. No one in antiquity had such a scientific perspective. Ancients like John the Seer regarded almost all constellations, whether they be humanoid or beastly in shape, as rational living beings. So what exactly is going on in Revelation chapter 13? First, we need to understand the context of Revelation chapter 12 through chapter 16, verse 21. Originally, before the compiler edited several of John's separate works together into one document, this section was its own separate text. Basically, it was a set of described visions about the long ago past. How long ago? Very long ago. These visions dealt with the cosmos existing before the flood, at the beginning of time. John wrote this to explain why the present condition for John the Seer and his audience existed. Everything taking place in this section of Revelation chapter 12 through chapter 16 already happened. The players of Revelation chapter 12 are not human. In contrast, they are instead gigantic constellations. Long before any Israelites or other human beings existed, at the beginning of time in the first week of creation, John sees Virgo, pregnant with a cosmic child, Aries. They are menaced by a great dragon composed of Scorpio, the tail, and Libra, the 7 heads. Orion, or Michael in the Israelite sky lore, comes to the rescue, and a sky war breaks out. All this takes place before the creation of the first human beings, before creation itself had been completed. Revelation chapter 13 shows the aftermath of this sky war, and sets up the evil of Genesis chapter 6. The action of Revelation chapter 13 takes place in the sky vaults above the antediluvian earth, probably somewhere over Mesopotamia. Again, the time period is before the flood. Here we encounter a sea beast, really a sky beast rising above the horizon of the sea. Our English translations botched this. This is the constellation Cetus, called in Babylonian Tiamatu, and in Hebrew Tehom. This is a constellation of a sea monster in the sky vault. This constellation, like the dragon it represents and relates to, is found in the southern sky. Its 10 horns are really dorsal protuberances, like the scaly bumps on a crocodile's back, or the dorsal fins on a fish. According to Revelation chapter 13, verse 2, this beast was like a leopard, having bear-like feet and a lion-like mouth. The bare feet refer to its powerful and violent acts. Its mouth refers to its powerful speech. This sky beast over the sea functions as vice-regent to the dragon. The other constellations featured in this section are Lupus, the sky beast over the land, and the Mark of Triangulum. Interestingly, this original context was lost as the centuries passed on. Next time we'll talk about how the church eventually recontextualized these images to refer to Emperor Nero.